Shamaya, you did it.
STL Music.
Welcome back to the show. So listen up, we back in the game. Sweet believe we got the flame. Motivated to the fullest every single day. We wake up, get it in every way. Working it two on the global inspiration. Talk this world to top news, no hesitation. Sweet the league is back. We always coming back, that's a fact. Wanna tell them that STL Music, mama, we did it, where we at? Coach Jill in the house with the flow so tight. Every round, rubber rock stats, we unite. Yeah, the best show, Monday through Friday. If this ain't different, they lying. We got the energy. When I say sweep, you say the league. Sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. Sweep the league.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Sith, the Doctor of Style over here at Sweep the League TV and PTS underscore TV 2025 is the channel here on YouTube. I hope y'all are ready. I got us a couple plane tickets. We're on our way to Hollywood. Y'all know him, the man, the myth, the legend, probably the most hated guy on Spurs Twitter, but a friend of mine. Welcome to the room, Hollywood Nixon. Hey, what's good,
Hello
bro? What's
there.
good?
How's it going?
It's going well. How's it going?
So I'm a bit incognito today because I get a lot of threats in my DMs, basically for all my takes regarding the San Antonio Spurs. So I have to keep a very low profile. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I can't be having you getting threatened or canceled on my behalf because Sith invites everyone. It's an open room over here. Just know Hollywood that it can get a bit heated depending on your takes. If I agree or disagree with them, for the most part, you'll be surprised to believe that I don't exactly disagree with your takes, and I love that you love stirring the pot. I know you won't admit it on here, but I'm all for instigating. Fun fact: they call me the insistigator behind the scenes because that's kind of my role in all this.
I can respect that.
Yeah, let's get to some of the comments. Good evening, boys. Shout out Sam Salinas. We got Leha in the room. Shout out MCS General Contracting, the sponsor for Sweep the League and Plead the Sith. We got Matt Gomez. What's up, Nesios? Nesios and Susios, both alike. Leha, most hated. Well, after the comment Mike Jimenez left earlier today, you might have lost that title, Hollywood. Fuck everyone and their bitch ass feelings. That's the word of the day, y'all. Hollywood ain't public enemy number one today. That's facts. Hollywood, you had someone take away from the spotlight today with their dumbass comments in regards to the floods and whatnot. We don't need to speak on that just yet.
I bring nothing but love, man. Like, everything comes from the heart in Hollywood. And so my intent is to not divide or to cause controversy. It's merely to speak the truth.
And that's what you were telling me behind the scenes. I had some people actually telling me, make sure you watch your drink around Hollywood, Sith. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't fall under his cult master tactics. I respect the game. I respect you and Quan Wick alike because y'all know how to stir the pot without deliberately trying to stir the pot. But Hollywood, can we get a bit of an origin story? I know people are trying to figure out where the name Hollywood Nixon comes from. I'll tell them you were created in a lab.
I really appreciate that question. So the name is an amalgam of two things. So Hollywood being representative of things that are showy and ostentatious and very, big and grand, the Hollywood sign, the Hollywood lifestyle. And Nixon, after former President Richard Nixon, who had a very Machiavellian approach to how he handled his adversaries and how he gained political power. And when you combine these two together, that's the approach that the Hollywood philosophy really embodies. It's really about doing whatever is necessary to win. That's the first thing, winning. The second thing is doing it in a showy, flashy way that makes people not forget about you.
Matt, and I respect that. Like I said, you're probably one of the most well respected, at least on my end, profiles. So the second I reached out to you and you accepted the invitation, I got all giddy inside. I seem to be more excited about your appearance on my show than these fuckers are when it comes to Project Marvel. Some people would say they're ungrateful. Other people say that they just don't understand, the grander picture when it comes to the Spurs and what they're trying to do with them. So we got Rudy saying, "So this fool is real." Rudy, I said the same thing. I had to wait till I had him on camera. He chose Richard Nixon because he's a dick. Damn, that's deep. Much love for coming on, Plead the Sith. Yeah, Hollywood isn't afraid of anyone. That's why I respect the dude. He's ready to cook. Hollywood, I have a couple of questions in regards to your fandom. Some people say that you're a fake Spurs fan and you're really a closeted Laker fan.
Oof.
Care to give me your take on that? I don't know where that came from, but if
let
you're a
me ask
LeBron,
you a question. Let me ask you a question.
go ahead.
I asked you, if I said, who's a better basketball player, LaMarcus Aldridge or Karl Malone, what are you going to say?
Karl Malone.
Does that make you a Utah Jazz fan?
Nah, because you must have missed last week's episode. People were calling me a fake ass Spurs fan because I put Steve Nash over Tony Parker when it comes to their personal careers.
Yeah,
let me.
It's not a bad thing to say, oh, Kobe Bryant was better than Tim Duncan. We know that this is already true. We
come on.
He had beaten him head to head many times in the playoffs, the back-to-back titles, the gold medals, and that's no. And in that same breath, you can say that hey, Tim Duncan was the greatest power forward of all time, which is true. It's absolutely true. But if I had to pick who has the lasting legacy and who has done more for the NBA, who has had the better career, who has, and then it's not my fault that Tim Duncan was held back, many by the malpractitioner and by all these philosophies that the Spurs abide by. Now, if he had been maybe under a different coach or a different philosophy, then perhaps he would have had a better career. But we'll never know, unfortunately.
So I'm glad you brought up philosophy. You tend to mention the Nixon way or the Hollywood way is the way to go. What the fuck is the Hollywood way? What do you mean when you put that on people's status?
I said earlier, there's two things. The first thing is winning, right? Like, you have to win. And when we look at the previous 20 years of the Spurs, right, they did a very excellent job at the winning part. I think nobody can argue that. They had 20 years of playoff success. They won like 4.5 titles. Very impressive. That
won
said,
5. Don't be an ass. They won 5.
but 4.5 though, because the half a season. And there's nothing wrong. There's no shame in admitting it was an asterisk. The Lakers championship in 2020 has an asterisk to it. LeBron's championship in 2012 has an asterisk to it. Some titles, unfortunately, count more than others, while other, and that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, the Spurs have been on the wrong end of that. But that's the first part. The first part's winning. Second part is, and let me just make this part clear. That winning part is completely gone from this current iteration. This Wemby team and whatever the heck they're doing, they're not winning at all. They're not very good. Whereas I would say, the second part is being showy, being accessible, being marketable, being fun. And that previous Big Three era they prided themselves on being boring. And it actually championship when you really think about it.
So you honestly think that they purposely were boring and staying away from the limelight? I don't get you when it comes to that. As for your Kobe take,
there was
I get
an article.
Bro.
Go back in 2013. I think it was 2013, 2014. and I think it was written by Yahoo. It was on Yahoo.com. I forgot the name of the. He was a well-known writer. I think he used to be a beat writer for the Spurs, Johnny Ludden. Anyways, it was a really interesting article that came out where they were talking about how David Stern at that time made things very difficult on the Spurs because they were a ratings killer, and nobody wanted to watch them. They were very boring. So one example of that in that article, if you find it, is basically David Stern had one of his cronies call up Bruce Bowen, the best defensive player ever, gave him a call. One of his cronies gives Bruce Bowen a call and says, hey, you're playing Kobe Bryant tonight. You better like lay off of him. Don't play your difficult defense on him or else like there'll be consequences, right? And so that was during the 2008 Western Conference Finals, and Bowen, got lit up by Kobe. But did the league interfere perhaps during that? I mean, and that's what happens when you choose to be boring, and the league's going to prevent you from winning. And that goes against the Hollywood philosophy because Hollywood is about winning.
All right, I guess I kind of see what you're saying. So they want me to ask you about Project Marvel, but we'll get there when we get there. So you mentioned Bruce Bowen being the greatest defender of all time, which I think is complete nonsense. But I want to get your take because I know you're going to oppose last week's guest view when it comes to one Jeremy Sohan, Mr. Injury Prone. I believe you even tweeted out injury prone in all caps. And Hollywood, damn it, you make me agree with you when it goes. So what are your thoughts on Jeremy Sohan?
I got news about Jeremy Sohan. So he actually DM'd. I'm sure you saw it a couple of weeks ago. He DM'd Hollywood, and he then there was this whole ordeal like, oh, he put Hollywood in his place. I have more of that conversation that I have not posted yet on Twitter, but I'm waiting for the perfect time to post the rest of it. And let's just say if Sohan shows up injured to training camp, there's going to be a lot more interesting Hollywood material for the Spurs to read.
So Mav is in the mix. He says this guy is so full of shit. I don't know, Mav. Just because he has opposing views doesn't mean he's a liar. I mean, I saw some of those DMs between you and Jeremy Sohan. I don't get nowadays. It seems like it's easier to screen grab certain shit without releasing the whole picture, right? So everyone was saying you got cooked. Everyone saw those. No one paid attention to what followed after when he told you, "Oh, it's all good. You're cool with me, bro." He didn't want that publicized, and I don't get it. Is Jeremy Sohan, a headline chaser? Hollywood?
I don't know.
I know is this.
Did
he use your name for clout?
Who knows? All I know is this: with these. If you find my tweets, which are very difficult to find, and I am not on the same level as many people on Spurs Twitter in terms of follows, in terms of all those things. So if you are combing through the bowels of Spurs Twitter to find my tweets and DM me, why aren't you working on your game, or why aren't you why aren't you taking that time and practicing that free throw or those 3-point or whatever,
trying to clear out that hitch of his? Yeah, I get you.
So I mean, that's fine, but I will say this: he's a really good dude. Like I get what he's doing, and that's totally fine, and all is fair in love in Hollywood. So happy that he reached out, but there's more to that conversation. So we'll see if maybe that'll come out later, maybe not. I don't know. Who knows these days?
And I'm looking forward to seeing those that DM go out in public. You mentioned your tweets, right? Let's see if this is the first time I mess with this feature. Let's see. Do you actually believe the shit you tweet out though, Hollywood? So this was a response to the mayor's concern. You said it all comes down to a vote, and perhaps Hollywood could mobilize some of his SA buddies to campaign to support Project Marvel. But all that depends on the Spurs sheep. Embrace Hollywood or say goodbye to your beloved Spurs. Do you think you have that much do you think you could cause that big of a movement to sway those sheep you mentioned?
No.
Hey, at least you're being honest, bro. That's why
I mean, but hey, if players are DMing me, man, like who knows these days? and here's on like the honest truth. Like if you really want, my whole perspective on this whole thing is this. Unfortunately, we are living in a really terrible age of misinformation and disinformation and so on and so forth. So it is conceivable that anybody with a Twitter handle could start a campaign and
That's true.
mobilize enough people. And again, if you look at, I love politics. I don't know if you read my other posts; they're very political. But if you look at politics, we basically all it takes is one person to just mobilize a little bit of support, and the turnout. If you look at the turnout for mayor in San Antonio, that vote, it was a pretty small percentage of the San Antonio population, and that got one mayor versus like another. So if Project Marvel does come down to a vote, I mean, really, whoever pushes for it and can figure out creative and clever ways to sway the masses, who's to say that that's not going to have an impact? So, again, that's pie in the sky, and if somebody really wanted to, I'm sure that they could, but that's a big answer of nothing. I don't know, and probably not. I don't credit myself for much. So Hollywood's a big loser.
Man, aren't we all a group of fucking losers and outcast Hollywood? It's all good, bro. Just like, Susios won't be the ones snowballing that into effect, being that the room is split. We have some of the OGs saying yay for Project Marvel. Then you have the likes of me, who's, I'm not a San Antonio resident. I was even told to shut the fuck up and stay out of the Marvel talk since I'm not from there. But at the end of the day, I'm not the one getting taxed for it. I'm not the one taking the loss. If the Spurs leave, well, then that's on y'all's asses, not mine. Right. But yeah, all it takes is the right person to cause a what do you call it, a domino effect in the right direction. But Hollywood, what is the right direction? Project Marvel gets approved or Project Marvel gets denied? How do you I'm assuming you're a San Antonio resident. What are your thoughts? Are you pro or against?
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you called me up 15 years ago and said, hey, let's do Project Marvel, I would have been like 1,000% yes, man. 1,000% yes. Project Marvel should have been done during the Big Three era. I don't know why they waited so long, because at that point they were winning games. They were a perennial contender, and it would only make sense to at least like get the infrastructure for Project Marvel laid out. And the fact that they waited this long on for all intents and purposes, Wemby hasn't made the playoffs yet. He hasn't. And so for all intents and purposes, they're basing this Project Marvel on a player who is unproven, a coach who is unproven, a supporting cast, except for maybe Harrison Barnes, and even to a lesser extent, De'Aaron Fox, like that's unproven. So what are you doing? Like this isn't the right time for it. I mean, it just isn't. And it baffles me. It baffles me that so many Spurs fans out there are very gung-ho about getting Project Marvel done, and yet they're willing to just sit and twiddle their thumbs when it comes to upgrading this team and to making the team a competitor. I don't understand why there's such a rush for Project Marvel, but with how we assemble this roster. I mean, if Wemby has a shelf life, which I think we all can agree he probably does, it would make sense to act fast. So it just, to me, it's a big contradiction. It's like if you're gonna be for Project Marvel, then you should definitely be for the Spurs moving faster than the pace that they're moving right now.
But Hollywood, we can't skip steps. That's not the Spurs way. That hasn't been the Spurs way these past 6 years, and neither has winning. I'm right by your side in everything you said. That's one of the reasons why I'm split when it comes to this talk. Because I told everyone we're gonna build them a whole area downtown. It's gonna affect the residents and whatnot. But what's the payoff? We're rewarding them for mediocrity. They haven't made the playoffs. Lord knows if they're gonna make it this season. Like you said, they want to put money towards a new arena, but they don't want to put money to pay, stars to come this way. Y'all, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, but Hollywood hasn't said a single thing that's wrong, a single wrong thing. Let me get to some of these comments before we keep going, Hollywood.
Yeah, hold on, my connection's kind of crapping out, so I'm going to go off video for a sec, if that's cool.
Go ahead.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, way better, actually.
Right, cool, thank you.
So it says...
Proceed.
Alrighty, brother. Let me get to some of these comments. JC said, asking, Pop doesn't trade Rodman to Chicago straight up for Will Purdue. Number 6 championship for Chicago. NBA con job, Nixon.
That was unfortunately, that was a very, how do I say that, wrong move to trade Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman did nothing wrong. I mean, you either are a coach who can manage egos like the great Phil Jackson, or you're not. And so many great coaches over time have had head cases on their team. You look at Dennis Rodman, you look at guys like Metta World Peace, you look at guys like Lamar Odom. Who else, man? Who else has been kind of?
Well, I don't know. You just named 3 Lakers. You might want to throw in a non-Laker example.
Actually, no. Lamar Odom was a Clipper before he became a Laker. Ron Artest, Metta World Peace, was a Pacer before he became a Laker. Now, what do they have in common? It's not that they went to the Lakers. It's that they were coached by the great Phil Jackson. And I think that's the common thread. Phil Jackson coached Dennis Rodman in Chicago. And so, some coaches are not afraid to take in head cases, and others would rather have choir boys on their team. So I don't know what else there is to say about that.
No, I regret that. What the fuck? He said, I agree with that. So Chris Leha in here saying, shout out to all the fake Spurs fans like you and I. I'm assuming Hollywood, you fall in that category. Sam Salinas doubling up on that comment. Don't forget, Sith, we're all fake ass Spurs fans. Yeah, man, if you're not walking and breathing Spurs, and then you're just a fake fan. You don't deserve to live in San Antonio. You don't deserve to be coached by one of the greatest of all time, Coach Pop. You don't deserve to rep the dynasty. It's all foolish talk. You could criticize the team and still be a Spurs fan, or even a fan in basketball at that. A bunch of fucking cornballs like to police fandoms, and I don't get it. Got my boy Jacob Eric in the house, my co-host, Sweep the League co-host, and half of Grading the Market here on the Sweep the League TV network. We got Mike Jimenez from the Alamo Pod Network. My bad. Says the Spurs have been contractually obligated to the Frostbank Center until 2032 from the get-go. Hollywood, you spoke on Wemby having a shelf life. How long do you see him staying in the league?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
That's
and
about
we've already used 2 of them. The clock is ticking. And here's here's a very interesting concept for everybody, which is this. Why do you think the Spurs organization is so gung-ho about getting this Project Marvel off the ground? Because it's going to take, 4 or 5 years, right? So probably who's going to be eligible for an extension in 4 to 5 years? Who may leave the team if they're not winning in 4 to 5 years? And who's smart enough to see that the roster that they've assembled is pretty terrible? So does that give you any hint as to why there's such a rush to get this inked and signed and voted and approved? Because who might leave the team very soon. And so they want to get something out of it because they know that they aren't assembling a good enough roster around him to win a championship.
I mean, you're being kind of vague. Why don't you go ahead and give me the clip? Who are you referring to?
Man, he's let's just say he's an international icon who speaks French.
I get you. Tony Parker. Yeah. Now he's talking about one Victor Wembanyama. He's holding back, but he's saying if we don't get Project Marvel approved, which is being used also to entice him to work the rest of his career here in San Antonio, that we might see one Victor Wembanyama dip from the team. And we know that a lot of Spurs hopefuls said, he would never look right on cue. Let me finish that thought. It says, shut the fuck up. Wemby ain't going anywhere. Yeah, y'all believe that. Y'all also believe that Tim Duncan.
How many more losing seasons is it going to take? How many more? They don't even make the playoffs. I mean, how much longer can anybody stand to be on a team that is deliberately trying to lose?
Man, I don't know about deliberately, right? I think they're trying just.
Well, I mean, if Kevin Durant, if you could have traded the Atlanta picks and Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, your Atlanta picks, and whatever else you needed to get Kevin Durant. If you're not doing that, then you're intentionally trying to lose, because those Atlanta picks at that time were worth a lot. Now they're not worth anything. So it was a missed opportunity. We already know Larry, Curly, and Mo on this team, whom I've termed the week three. They're not contributing to winning at all. And if you could have traded one of them and some picks for KD, and you chose not to do that, then what are you trying to do? You're not obviously trying to win. You're hoping that these players will eventually figure it out. They've had 5 or 6 seasons to figure it out, and they haven't figured it out. So what's the definition of repeating the same thing over and over and hoping it works out differently? What's that called?
It's called insanity. And
insanity.
Oh,
no, it's not. It's called pounding the rock.
Well, by the time we're down pounding the rock and we're left with pebbles, we might not have a team, in the vicinity. What's crazy to me is a lot of people think if the Spurs are leaving, they're going to go up the road to Austin. They don't get, if they decide to leave, it's not going to be to Austin. They're going out of state. I don't get the divide between Austin Spurs fans and San Antonio Spurs fans. They're fighting for hypothetical situations. Oh, you get to keep the team. I get to keep the team. At the end of the day, no one's fucking getting the team if they decide to walk out of here. They're going to end up, in Seattle, in Vegas. They're going to branch out of just being here in San Antonio. He says Spurs fans have turned into Cowboy fans. Leha, fuck you, but I get the reference. They preach about the past.
It's true. It's very unfortunate, but it's true. I mean, they have become the Cowboys fans of modern day, and you've seen how this story ends for the Cowboys. It's not a great story at all. It's terrible. And the reason that Hollywood exists is to try to tell fans, like, hey, we don't want this. Like, I'll say this. At the beginning of every season, right? Every season, every Spurs fan has one wish. They get one wish. Some wish to win a championship. Some wish to make the playoffs. Some wish to have one of their players make the All-Star team, right? Everybody gets their own wish. Hollywood always gets one wish before a Spurs season. And do you know what that wish is?
No, go ahead. Let me hear. What's your one wish?
The one wish is that the San Antonio Spurs prove Hollywood inexplicably wrong, that they make Hollywood look like an idiot, that they make Hollywood look like a fool. Hollywood wishes that every season, that he looks like a dumbass. And yet they seem to do the opposite. They make Hollywood look like a genius. And it kills me. It just absolutely kills me that they do that.
So what would it take to make you look like an idiot?
Oh, man. Well, in short, winning 3 consecutive titles in the next 3 years. But I do understand that perhaps is a little bit lofty. So I would argue maybe this year would be winning a playoff series. Oh, I mean, I would completely vacate Twitter. I would look like the biggest dumbass that there ever was if the Spurs got in the first round of the playoffs, and guess who they play? OKC, and they upset them. Oh my goodness. I couldn't be more happier. And I would gladly take everybody's, whatever at me, their punches, whatever you want to call it, like happy to take that, happy to look like a fool or an idiot, because if that means the Spurs are winning games and are winning playoff games and look like they're a championship contender, that makes me happy.
But Hollywood, you seem to not be a man of your word when it comes to deactivating your account. If I had a listener reach out to you said if Victor Wembanyama got drafted to the Spurs, Hollywood Nixon would be no more. But yet your account is still up, and since then on forward, you've been more aggressive in your preachings of the Hollywood way, or whatever you call it, brother.
Here's the problem, because I was gone for a brief period, but the problem is that the forces of basketball malpractice are so overwhelming that they brought Hollywood back from the dead. And so it's the basketball malpractice. That's the problem. If there wasn't any basketball malpractice, there'd be no Hollywood.
Yeah, others say that you came back because you're a fucking troll. Sam Salinas says, just when you think you're out, they'll pull you back in. Is that kind of what
Yeah.
happened with you?
It's true. It's again, I don't like basketball malpractice. It is the worst thing in the world. Basketball malpractice is responsible for many of the problems we see nowadays: the economy, housing insecurity, COVID. I mean, you could all blame that on basketball malpractice. And it is my duty in Hollywood to rid the world of basketball malpractice where it takes place.
See, y'all may not like it, but when you see that Hollywood sign shine over the Tower of America, just know that Nixon is on the prowl. Whether he's stirring shit up or getting his point across, he will be there. Sam Salinas has 10 years going into a third from what has not been a generational career. There has to be the downside of the career. So what? We get 2-3 years of prime for a supposed generational talent. He's referring to Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your take on one Victor
I mean, people aren't going to like this, but Victor hasn't proven himself.
I
And
agree.
that's
Go ahead.
fine to an extent, because Kobe didn't prove himself right away. LeBron didn't prove himself right away. Who's the other guy? LeBron James didn't prove himself right away. I think Spurs fans are, Hollywood included, present company included, think that, we were spoiled with Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan won a championship in his second year. But Tim Duncan actually, I think he did a very good thing and stayed in school for 4 years and had a lot of skills already developed. But with some of these players, it takes time. Now, with that said, though, he hasn't proven himself. If you remember, like way back when, I think Kobe was like his second or third year in the league, and they were playing the Utah Jazz, and he like airballed like several game-winning shots, and people rightfully came down on him. They're like, Kobe's a loser. Kobe sucks. Like, even with LeBron, when he got swept by the Spurs, you're like, LeBron sucks. LeBron, and for the record, I'm not a LeBron fan. I think LeBron's one of the most overrated players ever, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, if you look at like LeBron, if you look at Kobe and some of these guys, even like Luka Doncic coming in, like, to me, Luka hasn't proven anything. Yeah, he took his team to the finals, but I come from an old school era where it's, if you don't win a championship, then shut your mouth. Like, you haven't done anything. And unfortunately, Victor hasn't done anything. And that's not so much a criticism on Victor as much as it is the reality of the situation.
Yeah. No, I get you. I've been on that same boat. I was actually on Ken's Five, Jeff Garcia's Locked On Spurs, and I'm probably one of their most hated guests because I said Victor Wembanyama at the moment is not generational. He's just tall. He has yet to prove himself. He was supposed to be the guy to come out of France, get into the league, number one draft pick, and take us to the promised land within this first 2-3 years. So far 2 down. Let's see what he does this year. But
Yeah,
seems like
it
his
sucks because he
height and
wasn't.
whatnot. Go ahead.
No, I was saying they didn't put him in a great position. I mean, that a lot of that falls on the Spurs. When you had Jeremy Sohan, who by all means should never have been a point guard, playing point guard, the writing is on the wall for what your intent is that year. And
Tank.
when you get CP3, who's like 50, and the writing is on the wall again. So it's hard because he hasn't been given the opportunity. And I think if you were to put Wemby, I mean, this is what always baffles me about the San Antonio Spurs. When Tim Duncan was drafted, he came to a winning team. He came to a winning culture. David Robinson at least took the team to the conference finals. When Manu and Tony came to the team, Tim Duncan had already taken his team to a championship. And then when Kawhi Leonard, and I'm a huge Kawhi fan, I think Kawhi is a wonderful, wonderful player. When Kawhi came to the San Antonio Spurs, they had the big three, they had great coaching, and he came to a winning organization that allowed him to develop into a fantastic MVP caliber player. So why the hell would you change that for Wemby? Shouldn't you have established a really good team so that when Wemby comes, he can just be his best self? I mean, you put him in the worst position to try to do a shitty team too, and eventually got it together. But at the end of the day, they didn't do Wemby any favors.
No, I agree. I agree with that. The team around him was just a bunch of fucking scrubs. This team is this the current team is looking to be a playoff caliber team. I don't think they're going to come out here and win the whole series, right? But I think they should at least get to the first round. As long as they put up a fight within those seven games, Hollywood, I'll be satisfied. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but I just don't think we're there yet. To carry us all the way. Oh, got my boy Harry from SAFC in here. Says evening, Elias. Um, Sith still pissing on Wemby. This is the thing. You guys can't say criticism without fucking crying. I'm not pissing on Wembenyama. I think he's great. But generational is a huge title, and I don't think we should put that title on him yet. He hasn't done anything out of the norm, in my opinion, other than what? His blocking. Hollywood, he got a 99% blocking rated on NBA 2K. Congratulations. It's still not bringing us a fucking championship, and that still doesn't deserve a new arena, in my opinion.
Correct.
Pulling up this post that you had, it says no playoffs, no arena. Is that your stance in the whole thing? They
Oh
need to
yeah,
make playoffs
absolutely.
at least.
Absolutely. Because why should the good people of San Antonio have to foot the bill when there's not even a product on the court that is worth watching? And I think it's really simple. So to me, there should be some leverage that the fans have, which is you say, hey, you're not going to make the play. You're going to put together a team of a lot of question marks and unknowns. And maybe I'm not so sure about this arena. Maybe I need a little bit of time to see the way that you need time to see for all these players to fit together. Well, you know what? The good people of San Antonio need time to evaluate. So, it goes both ways. Now, if the Spurs should come to their senses and make a couple of trades and really make more of an effort and show some more urgency towards winning, then 100% let's get that Project Marvel done. But until that happens, then, no arena. Sorry.
Yeah, so show us that you gotta, light a fire in y'all's asses. Prove to us that y'all deserve this new arena. At least up the effort, because there's a lot of lollygagging a couple of games last season.
Oh, yeah. It's the
Harry
worst.
Austin is in here saying, please like and subscribe to PTS_TV to 2025. He said it took, what did I miss here? Harry been in the chat for 5 minutes already, has my name in his mouth. He's a fan. Harry responded. Took Layup 15 seconds to respond. He loves me. Got my boy Matt Gomez in here, just enjoying a few friendly banter. Not worth watching. You watch every game, foo. Hollywood. Are you subscribed strictly to all just Spurs games, bro? That seems to
Yeah,
be
man. I,
all
I
you
am.
tweet about.
It's unfortunate. It's my curse in life to watch all the basketball malpractice, and it's made me a very unhappy person over the years.
Oh, I feel it, bro. As a Cowboy fan, I watch every game, every single game. Haven't missed a single fucking game, and I get my heart broken every season. But boy, am I the dumbass to keep coming back. Sam Selena says, on paper, they're showing some ambition for the upcoming season. Not 100% sold until it's seen on the court. Hollywood, your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
On that comment?
here's the problem. I can give you 6 players on this team who are question marks that when people want to look at this season optimistically, it's always if X player can get better, then we have a chance, right? And there are too many of those players on this team. If Jeremy Sohan gets better, we'll be in the mix. If Devin Vassell gets better, we'll be in the mix. If Keldon Johnson gets better, if Julian Champagny gets better, so, and then you include Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, a lot of young guys. That's way too many question marks to make me feel confident that this team can go very far. When you have that many question marks, it's never a certain deal. And just based off of their track record, what's the more logical thing? That they're going to miss the playoffs, or that they're going to be a team that can be in, the 6th to the 8th spot in the West? I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you back on maybe same time next year and getting your take about your thoughts on this next season when the Spurs make it to the playoffs, when the Spurs hit everything that you and I aren't are holding them underneath. What if they make it to the playoffs? What if they make the first round? They make it at least to the first round. Will that make a believer out of Hollywood?
I mean, it's a start. Like, oh man, it'll take a lot more than that. I mean, this is, to me, this would be a perfect season is them upsetting somebody in the first round. To me, that shows that this team is well on pace to being a contender. If they get like swept or they lose in 5, I mean, I don't know. I just, the bar is high for me. I have very high standards, and if people want to celebrate getting their ass kicked in the first round, if they're an ace seed, good on them, man. Like, good for you. I just have higher expectations, and I think when you have somebody like Wemby, and when you have an organization that won 4.5 titles in 20 years, whatever, the expectation should be higher. Because here's the thing: the NBA is an oligarchy, which means there's 5 or 6 really dominant teams over the years, and the rest suck. And so, in those teams, you have the Boston Celtics, you have the Lakers, you have Chicago Bulls, you have Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors, right? And the Spurs. And, Boston acts like they're Boston. The Lakers act like they're the Lakers. They go in and say, we want to win a championship every year because that's what our fan base is used to, and that's what our organization is used to doing. Now, are they successful every time? No. Do they make stupid decisions a lot? Yes, of course. The Spurs don't act that way. The Spurs act like they've never been to the dance before. And right now, they're acting like the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets. Like, they've never done anything. Like, being a contending team is some kind of allergic reaction for them. And that is the issue that I have. Like, act like you've been there. Act like you deserve to win a championship. You're not these other shitty teams. You're not the Utah Jazz. You're not the Phoenix Suns. Act like you're the fucking San Antonio Spurs, for crying out loud. Like, or else those 4.5 titles are meaningless.
Yeah, I agree. You see a lot of people say you spew hate. You don't really like the team, but I've kicked it with you these last 45 minutes, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing on your side. You're just a real, if I can label you a real Spurs fan, because God knows I'm not one. I think you just want to see the best out of the team, and like you said, for them to stop playing with their heads in their asses and act like they're contenders, act like they're playing for a winning dynasty. I'm echoing everything you've said, because everything you've said makes sense. Let's say Mav said, "Cry harder, ho, with your fucking 4.5 titles." Don't mind Mav; it's that time of the year, that time of the week for him. He gets soft at times. On paper, okay, we already read that one. Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan should be gone by trade deadline. Let's see if there's anyone willing to play the trading game with us. But Hollywood, when I first DM'd you about being on the show, you made a reference to the coyote hurting your feelings on a shopping spree, or ruining a shopping spree. I need to hear that story, brother. Go ahead and hit us with it.
Everybody has an origin story, and Hollywood has an origin story, because Hollywood was this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Spurs fan since 1988, you could say. And one day in the year 2006, when the Spurs were playing the Mavs in the Western Conference semifinals, there was a little side story going on, which was Hollywood's mom, his sweet mother, won a shopping spree sponsored by the San Antonio Spurs at Rolling Oaks Mall. I don't know if any of the listeners know what Rolling Oaks Mall is, but it was a $5,000 shopping spree. And back in those days, $5,000 was a lot of money, right? And so this is how the shopping spree, the rules played out. You could have anybody, like my mom had to be there, obviously, but she could take 2 other people with her. And the goal was to basically spend $5,000 at every store, or like to go to all the stores, and just your total would end up being $5,000, right? And the way that it would work was that you'd go to the store, you'd pick the items that you wanted. So if you wanted like a microwave, whatever, you'd get the microwave, you'd go to the counter, they'd ring you up, and like they would deduct from your $5,000. And so we had prepped for this shopping spree a week before. We hit up all the stores. We kind of eyed all the things we wanted. We're like, you know what, man? Like, we are going to spend this $5,000. We're going to fucking live like kings. It's going to be the best thing in the world, right? And so what ends up happening is it's the day of the shopping spree, and, boom, they shoot the gun, and everybody's going to the stores. We have our strategy. We're good. And then who the fuck shows up but that motherfucking coyote? And what does he do? So we're at the different stores. We're at the checkout line. The coyote, he gets in the way. Like, he goes to the checkout counter and he just sits his ass on the counter and prevents the guy from ringing us up. And then he kind of, like, I want to say, like, stirs a little bit of shit. He causes, like, a riot. He's getting all the fans excited. And meanwhile, they're not ringing up our stuff. So we're having to wait an extra 5 to 7 minutes because the coyote's creating a little fucking sideshow, and we're unable to buy the things that we want. So instead of spending the full $5,000, we missed out on $3,000 because the coyote was taking his sweet ass time interrupting everything. So it was a very, very pissy shopping spree that we had. And not only that, but then a few days later, the Spurs lost in Game 7 to the Mavericks when Manu fouled Dirk. And at that point, that's when Hollywood was born. That Hollywood said, you know what, this is all malpractice. And that's really when it all started.
Damn, I hate to hear that they did you like that. Some people say you're kind of biting off supermarket sweep. I don't know if they actually believe that story, but hey, we're known to tell our tall tales from time to time as well here on Plead the Sith. Sam Selena said, shop till you drop. Let's see, Mav, stop kissing his ass, Sith. I know you like tongue punching his ass, hemorrhoids, but come on, Mav, you're an emotional lesbian.
You guys are terrible, man.
Man, it is what it is. That's my boy, Mav.
I'm gonna go cry into my pillow.
And Mav's always crying in regards, it's not my fault you went to UT, you little hoe. But, Rudy G said this is equivalent to Jimenez tall tale talk. But yeah, Hollywood, anything you want to plug, brother? Anything we should be on the lookout for?
No.
No? Come on, just tell us your government name and your birthday. I'm not trying to dox you or anything, but if my listeners want to, they can. I'm just kidding.
My name is Doug Fisher.
Oh, I thought it was John Doe. Okay, JC says, so do you consider Coyote your arch nemesis today? That's what it sounds like. You don't?
Because at the end of the day, it's not the coyote. Again, the root of all evil is basketball malpractice. And that's the nemesis of Hollywood.
Man, this would be a perfect time to plug in, the face-to-face between the Joker and Batman, except it being the Bat Yodi and Hollywood on the other end, Without that shopping spree, we wouldn't have a Hollywood Nixon. Some of you guys say, good, we're better off. Me, on the other hand, I'm enjoying everything you're doing on X, even though I don't agree with all your shit. I just love seeing chaos being stirred. But Hollywood, it was a pleasure having you on. I thought I was gonna come in here and cook you, and you started spitting a lot of facts. It couldn't really go against you, even if I wanted to, because unlike these other people, I have my own mind. I follow my own agendas, and you didn't seem to contradict anything that I thought. You guys can listen to previous episodes, even the Sweep the League with Rudy Campos. We've all agreed Wemby's not generational yet. We all have agreed. Project Marvel, I don't know if it should be completely held, stopped, but they need to give us more before they get rewarded with a new arena. So, you and I seem to be parallel at the moment. But no, fellas, I am not now Hollywood Sith. I am not, I'm not going to rename myself as a past president either. But it was a pleasure talking to you. Not yet, fuck around and find out, But it was a pleasure talking to my boy Hollywood Nixon. If y'all want to leave him any final comments, y'all go ahead and do so now. I'll give y'all a couple 3-4 minutes or whatever. Y'all be on the lookout for the next episode of Plead the Sith coming to y'all Tuesday, 8 p.m. I'm gonna have my boy Matt Gomez, the main Nesio, the Nesio drummer from the FAFC Fancast. He covers everything related to the SAFC club. They hold some badass tailgates and whatnot. I was actually out there a couple weeks ago, Hollywood, and I got too drunk. I couldn't really follow the game. I was too busy trying not to fall down the stairs with how fucking wasted your boy was. But it was a good time. So y'all be on the lookout for the next episode with Matt Gomez. JC said, is it going to the light or the dark? Might be going to the dark side, JC, if that's what you're asking. Shout out Sam Salinas. So thank you all for, spending time with us. Hollywood, any last words, bro? Leave us with at least one Hollywood comment or philosophy.
The Hollywood again. The Hollywood philosophy isn't about being a Lakers fan. It's completely anti that. The Hollywood philosophy is about wanting the very best for the San Antonio Spurs. So everything that Hollywood says is intended to, for lack of a better word, spur that stuff forward. So, I think. At the end of the day, we all want this team to be very good, but there's really only one way that they can be good, and that's to follow the Hollywood philosophy. 6 years, man, 6 years, and it could be another 7, 8. Who knows? And if you keep doing the same thing over and over, then you're going to get the same results over and over. So where that leads you. And all roads lead to Hollywood, and eventually everybody wants to buy some real estate here.
Banger of a quote. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us. This has been Plead the Sith. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Oh, and shout out to the piggy. If you know, you know. Bye.